I say at one point in the book, one of the interesting things about anti-Semitism is that it's, which isn't to say that all criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic, which isn't, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that one of the interesting things about anti-Semitism is that it's famously a shape-shifting virus. It can come from anywhere. It can come from the political left. It can come from the political right. It can come from people wearing jack boots, and it can come from people wearing COVID masks. You know, latterly we've been less attuned to the existence of the second. You know, because there's always this expectation that it'll be the same as last time, but it doesn't. It moves. But the reason why I do think that that's a perennial to the conspiracy mind is because the Jews can be blamed for everything, and just have been historically. They get blamed for you get simultaneously blamed for being poor and for being rich. You know, 19th century British anti-Semitism and indeed continental anti-Semitism relied on the trope of the Rothschilds and of the impoverished Jews from Eastern Europe, and they just did both at once. They can be accused of being very religious and trying to push religion, and also being ultra-secularist, the most secular, pushing atheism. They can be blamed for being stateless, rootless cosmopolitans was the line that anti-Semites of the right used to use, and the left, about Jews. And now they get blamed for having a state. So it's a sort of perennial. And I think if you wanted to go down exactly on why it is, it's of many reasons, because there's different types of anti-Semitism. There's Islamic anti-Semitism. There's types of Christian anti-Semitism. I think that it ends up usually being that historically Jews are almost perfectly positioned to mirror whatever your own failings are. And this is it's a line I quote in the book from a great Russian writer, Vasily Grossman, who said in the 20th century in his masterpiece Life and Fate, he said, "Tell me what you accuse the Jews of, and I'll tell you what you're guilty of." It's fascinating insight, this. It's a mirror to your own failings.
How so?
So, for instance, the main accusation that the revolutionary Islamic government in Tehran uses of the Jewish state of Israel is that it's a colonial power, this is quite funny to me because, I mean, by the way, the supreme leader of Iran last year wrote a thank you letter to students at Columbia and other American Ivy League universities for coming out for the last year and a half on anti-Israel protests. He wrote them a thank you letter and joining him in the anti-colonialist cause. There is one country in the Middle East which has been colonizing the place more than any other in our lifetimes, and that's the Iranian revolutionary government in Tehran. They colonized the great country of Iran in 1979. They've, in the years and decades since, they've colonized Iraq, colonized Syria, colonized Yemen, colonized and destroyed Lebanon. But they say the Jews are the colonialist power. Another very good example, just right there, the president of Turkey, sometime very close enemy of mine, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who I initiated a defamatory poetry competition against many years ago. That's a byway.
You have friends in high places.
I do. And then good enemies, the best.
Murray cites Russian writer Vasily Grossman, stating, "Tell me what you accuse the Jews of, and I'll tell you what you're guilty of," illustrating how accusations reflect the accuser's own failings. He critiques Iran's portrayal of Israel as a colonial power, noting that Iran itself has colonized several nations since 1979. He further highlights the irony of powerful figures deflecting their actions onto Jewish communities.
Recep Tayyip Erdogan, President Erdogan of Turkey, accuses the Jewish state of being an occupying power, which is hilarious if you know Cyprus at all, because the north half of Cyprus is occupied by Turkey. Now, still, has been for 50 years. Totally illegal occupation that nobody in America or Britain or the West seems to give a damn about. So when Erdogan says the Jews are occupiers, all he's doing is telling us about himself. That's all. And it works every which way you do it. The Nazis accused the Jews of being racists. It's almost as if it tells us something about the Nazis. It's an extraordinary thing, and this works almost every way. Yeah, people accuse the Jews of things they're guilty of, and because they're a small enough portion of the global population, and tend to outperform, not always by any means, but tend to outperform in the areas they go into, they're almost the perfect scapegoat.
Is this not true of other groups too?
Oh yeah, for sure. Never anywhere as much, because of this shape-shifting thing I describe, and because there are very deep theological reasons for it. You know, it took until the 1950s for a pope in Rome to say the Jews are not responsible for the killing of Christ. That's a long time for the church to confirm that. So, you know, you have many centuries of Christian anti-Semitic pogroms and much more.
Douglas Murray critiques President Erdogan's accusation that Israel is an occupying power, pointing out Turkey's long-standing illegal occupation of Northern Cyprus. He emphasises that such accusations often reveal more about the accuser than the accused, noting that Nazis also labelled Jews as racists. He explains that Jews, being a smaller population that often excels in various fields, become convenient scapegoats.
The Islamic world has not yet caught up with that, and much of it still blames the Jews for rejecting the revelation of Muhammad, because when the inventor of Islam came up with the idea and went around trying to get other people to join him, the Jews were among the first people who said, no, thanks, we've already got our religion and we'd like to keep it.